All right, we are now joined by the newest member of the Rangers coverage team, Peter Baugh from The Athletic, joining Forever Blueshirts. Peter, welcome to New York hockey. You have come at the perfect time. You've seen the fan base at its most rational and its most thought-provoking. Thank you for joining Forever Blueshirts.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
All right, so we might as well start it right at recent games. The Rangers falling 5-2 on Thursday to the St. Louis Blues in St. Louis. They've now lost 3 straight, 10-8-1 since the start of December with a negative goal differential. You know, in your time, what have you seen has been this team's biggest issue?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a lot of things that other people have mentioned. It's the defensive details and especially coverage on zone or on rush attempts. The into the offensive zone have clearly bit them. It bit them again last night. It bit them against Vancouver. And you see against when you give dangerous players opportunities like they're giving up, you're going to see lopsided scores. I think they've given up 5+ goals 10 times this year already, and last year it was only 6, if I'm not mistaken. So definitely a lot to clean up defensively, and I mean, I'm certain they know that and are working towards it, but that's been pretty clear to me in the first, I guess, 5 or 6 games that I've been here.
Well, when we talk about defense, and the Rangers have missed Capo Caco for a good amount of time, he should be back fairly soon. You necessarily haven't seen him yet covering the Rangers, but how important is he defensively to this team, to their structure that has sort of been crumbling over the past few weeks?
Yeah, I mean, well, he's a hardworking player that has certain skill that made him a top 3 pick. Obviously, he maybe hasn't been exactly the scorer that people have wanted since he's been in the NHL, but he's got that level of skill to play in the top 6 if he needs to. But like you said, is a responsible defensive player, someone who works hard, brings that element to play, and yeah, I think that'll be a really big addition for them if they have him back in. Zibanejad, I would guess is going to be, if he's still feeling a little sick, it's probably not super long term. So getting him and Kakko both in the lineup, I think will help immensely.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned Mika. He did miss the game on Thursday night with an illness, and after the game, head coach Peter Laviolette mentioned something about it, sort of going around the team. And I want everybody that's listening to this and just at home to be honest with yourself. When you're sick, you really don't feel like going to work every day and giving 110%. Do you think this could be part of this illness? Could be part of some of the struggles recently?
It's possible. It's hard to know how much something like that, because teams are always vague about that stuff. They don't want to let Laviolette mentioned that, but like you know what, they teams don't, the players are never going to use that as an excuse. It could for sure. I mean, the Avalanche, when I was covering them earlier this year, had a similar funk where there was an illness going around and they weren't playing very well, and things kind of compounded on each other. So I don't think that any illness can be to blame for the way they're playing. But it certainly is. I'd imagine something that doesn't help when you're trying to break out of a funk.
You got to find any excuse possible when you can't explain what's going on. And really, what you can't explain is the season that Igor Shesterkin has had right now. It's been a bit of a roller coaster for him. You could blame the defense from time to time in front of him, but he hasn't looked sharp in stretches. 1-3-0 over his last 4 games with an .828 save percentage. And a goal save above expected at -6.97. That's according to Evolving Hockey. What have you seen from him with his inconsistent play, especially to start this new year?
Yeah, it's interesting because you did mention the defense, and that is a big chunk of it. Like, it's some of it is obviously him maybe not being at his sharpest, but some of it is you look at the individual goals he gives up, and a lot of them you're like, there's not a ton you can blame him for. Like, these are just dangerous chances. But sometimes you need, when you have a goalie like Igor Shesterkin, who you're counting on being a Vezina level player, you sometimes need them to make the saves that they're not supposed to make. And at least in the last little stretch, he probably hasn't been doing that as much as he has at other stretches of his career. I think that's fair to say. I will say last night, I felt like there were, like, Jordan Kyrou could have had 2 or 3 more goals, but Shesterkin made unbelievable saves on him. So I think a lot of it comes down to defense and the chances that are being given up in front of him. And then some of it is that he needs to be a little better and maybe make the play that he's supposed, or the save that he's not supposed to make, and kind of bail the defense out.
Well, if you do watch these games, it's certainly not all bad from the Rangers' perspective. It feels like they're generating a ton of chances offensively, whether it be through that second line of Panarin, Trocheck, and Lafreniere. Do you feel like this is just kind of a bad luck stretch that they're in?
I mean, I mean, I don't know about like so they're the losses are their own doing, but they haven't. I mean, Sam Montembeault played unbelievably for Montreal, and Bennington was good last night for St. Louis, so that certainly plays a factor in when you lose games where you're generating enough chances. Sometimes the other goalie has something to say about it too and plays well. So I think there's some luck for sure. But I also don't think like even with the way Bennington was playing, they probably didn't walk away feeling like, oh, they deserve to win. But same with the Vancouver game or the Carolina game, the Montreal game. Maybe they like Montembeault was unbelievable, and they certainly generated enough, and they allowed 3 goals, not 5. So yeah, but I think like Peter Laviolette said the other night after the Vancouver game that if you allow 5 goals, you're just not going to win very many. Maybe 1 out of every 10 you score 6 and you come away with a win. But allowing 5 goals isn't a recipe for sustained success. So I think there's maybe some bad luck in terms of other goalies playing well, but I think that the only thing, the biggest thing to blame is the kind of defensive lack of soundness.